All right. So yesterday we talked about AA number 3, which was Bill Dotson. D-O-T-S-O-N. Bill Dotson. I was looking at that. Make it to a Benz out of that Dotson. So today we are looking at the foreword to the 3rd edition and the foreword to the 4th edition because they are very short. So far we've done the preface, foreword to the 1st edition, foreword to the 2nd edition. So where we left off yesterday was 1955. Now we're 21 years in the future. From then, we've gone 21 years have elapsed to the 3rd edition of the big book. Forward to the 3rd edition. By March 1976, when this edition went to the printer, the total worldwide membership of Alcoholics Anonymous was conservatively estimated at more than 1 million, with almost 28,000 groups meeting in over 90 countries. Okay, so damn, where did we leave off here? What was the number? Oh, you know what? And yesterday I was saying 800x. I didn't graduate from college, just so everyone knows, okay? It wasn't 800x. To go from 100 to 8,000 is 80x. 80x, not 800x. Still a nice return on investment. I'll take an 80x any day, but after in the 2nd edition, or the foreword to the 2nd edition, remember, John D. Rockefeller had a dinner and invited his friends. They invited AA members to tell their story. And by March 1941, the membership had shot up to 2,000. Then Jack Alexander wrote a feature article in the Saturday Evening Post and placed such a compelling picture of AA before the general public that alcoholics in need of help really deluged us. Remember, deluge. Which is a tsunami wave, remember. So a massive amount of inquiries came in after that. By the close of 1941, 8,000 members. 8,000 members. Okay, and we talked about yesterday in the foreword to the 2nd edition, we talked about how they developed their traditions so that groups and AA as a whole could survive and be effective. And we went through, so it was the substance of AA's 12 traditions, which are stated in full on page 561 of the 4th edition Big Book. And then you can go look at the traditions. And the traditions are great. A great way to live life as well. If you look at the traditions, if I can incorporate them into my daily life, life will, you'll see definitely some improvements in your life, So that was the close of 1941, 8,000 members. Okay, and then as we discovered, and then what did it say? So this was the foreword to the 2nd edition, which came out in 1955. And they're talking about the close of 1941, 8,000 members. Okay, so let's see if it says, because, we read stuff and then I can't even... I remember the general concepts. It talked about, 15% of us are women. At present, our membership is pyramiding at the rate of about 20% a year. So far, upon total problem of several million, Actual and potential alcoholics, we have made only a scratch. Okay, so 8,000, so 8,000, 20% a year. 8,000. Let's just, because now we're in 76 and they're saying conservatively 1 million, more than 1 million. So 8,000. Anyway, I wish I had I'm filming on my phone. I usually use a calculator. So let's just do this here real quick. I'll ask Google. How many members were there in Alcoholics Anonymous at the close of 1955? Watch, it's probably right there. At the close of 1955, which marked the 20th anniversary International Convention in St. Louis, it was estimated that there were over 150,000 members in Alcoholics Anonymous. 7,000 groups. Okay, cool. All right, so in 1955, which marked the 20th anniversary International Convention in St. Louis, it was estimated that there were over 150,000 members in Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay. Close of 1955, 150,000. 21 years later, conservatively estimating 1 million. By March 1976, when this edition went into the printer, the total worldwide membership of Alcoholics Anonymous was conservatively estimated at more than 1 million, with almost 28,000 groups meeting in over 90 countries. Surveys of groups in the United States and Canada indicate that AA is reaching out not only to more and more people, but to a wider and wider range of people. Women now make up more than 1/4 of the membership. So 15%, now 25%. Among newer members, the proportion is nearly 1/3, okay. 7% of AAs surveyed are less than 30 years of age. Among them, many in their teens. So this is in 1976. So I came into AA when I was 22. And I was young, in meetings and groups that I attended, and the guys that I hung out with, I was the youngest. Maybe there was somebody that was 21 or 20, but like early 20s was still very young. And then there was a young people's meeting that I went to that was in Miami. Huge meeting in Miami, young people. And it was like Young People's AA in Miami. A huge meeting in a nice church. And the one kid shared, I don't remember his name, but I think he was 18 and he had 4 years. So he came into AA when he was 14 years old. And, you think like, how bad could it have been, But he shared his story. And it was legit, at 14, he just hit the ground running with drinking. So I don't know if he started I can't remember the details, but maybe 12. Who cares though? I mean, it's incredible. 14 years old, he came into AA. And I think about when I was 14, I loved baseball and I loved things like that. And I still rebelled against coaches and practice and discipline and doing things to excel in that. And I loved it and I still rebelled against it. So to be 14, I imagine, and then brought into AA, which you definitely don't want to be a part of at 14 years old. So they're saying that's not, it's lower percentage, but even in 1976, 7% of AAs surveyed are less than 30 years of age, and among them, many in their teens. So that's in 1976. The basic principles of the AA program, it appears, hold good for individuals with many different lifestyles, just as the program has brought recovery to those of many different nationalities. The 12 steps that summarize the program may be called Los 12 Pasos in one country, Les 12 Étapes in another, but they trace exactly the same path to recovery that was blazed by the earliest members of Alcoholics Anonymous. So, you know, no matter the country, no matter the language, they're saying it's exactly the same. This process is exactly the same. In spite of the great increase in size and the span of this fellowship, at its core, it remains simple and personal. Each day, somewhere in the world, recovery begins when one alcoholic talks with another alcoholic, sharing experience, strength, and hope. So if you've been around AA at all, you've heard experience, strength, and hope, most likely. It's one of the famous catchphrases of AA, experience, strength, and hope. And I think, unless I missed it, this is the first time those words are used in the foreword to the 3rd edition. So in spite of the great increase in size and the span of the fellowship, at its core it remains simple, and personal. Simple and personal. Each day, somewhere in the world, recovery begins when one alcoholic talks with another alcoholic, sharing experience, strength, and hope. That's the foreword to the 3rd edition. And then this is the foreword to the 4th edition, which is this book. There isn't a 5th edition yet. We'll see if our prediction comes true. 2039, the 100 year. Well, actually, it would be of AA 2035. You know, the fellowship, the program, AA as it's come to be known, began in 1955 with Bill and Dr. Bob in Akron, Ohio, and then at the Akron Hospital with Bill Dotson, who was number 3, also known as the man on the bed, AA number 3. Bill Dotson. Let's just make sure. Bill Dotson. Bill Dotson, AA, yeah. Bill Dotson, AA number 3, the man on the bed. All right. So, foreword to the 4th edition, which is what we have here. This 4th edition of Alcoholics Anonymous came off press in November 2001. At the start of a new millennium, since the 3rd edition was published in 1976, so 86, 96, 25 years. Since the 3rd edition was published in 1976, worldwide membership of AA has just about doubled to an estimated 2 million or more, with nearly 100,800 groups meeting in approximately 150 countries around the world. Literature has played a major role in AA's growth, and a striking phenomenon of the past quarter century has been the explosion of translations of our basic literature into many languages and dialects. In country after country where the AA seed was planted, it has taken root, slowly at first, then growing by leaps and bounds when literature has become available. Currently, Alcoholics Anonymous has been translated into 43 languages, and then there's a little asterisk there. So in 2012, Alcoholics Anonymous is in 64 languages. So I guess so. The 4th edition came out in 2001, and then let's see what I have here. So I guess this must have been... Okay, so this is the 28th printing in 2012. Okay. 2012, the 28th printing. This is the 4th edition, which came out in 2001. And then this is the 28th printing, which is, you know, printed after in 2012. So it has been translated to 43 languages, little asterisks. Alcoholics Anonymous is in 64 languages. Now, and by this point, it's, who knows, you know. As the message of recovery has reached larger numbers of people, it has also touched the lives of a vastly greater variety of suffering alcoholics. When the phrase, "we are people who normally would not mix," page 17 of this book, was written in 1939, it referred to a fellowship composed largely of men and a few women with quite similar social, ethnic, and economic backgrounds. Like so much of AA's basic text, those words have proved to be far more visionary than the founding members could have ever imagined. The stories added to this edition represent a membership whose characteristics of age, gender, race, and culture have widened and deepened to encompass virtually everyone the first 100 members could have hoped to reach. While our literature has preserved the integrity of the AA message, sweeping changes in society as a whole are reflected in new customs and practices within the fellowship. Taking advantage of technological advances, for example, AA members with computers can participate in meetings online, sharing with fellow alcoholics across the country or around the world. Okay, now that's true. You could jump on a Zoom meeting. I mean, especially like there have been meetings online, I guess, since this is 2012. Or even 2001 when it was printed, or this edition came out. I wasn't aware of online meetings until 2020. And then now it seems it's extremely common, 2020. You know, there's Zoom meetings every hour, every 15 minutes, you could probably find an AA meeting through Zoom all over the world. You know, a buddy of mine was telling me, he was like, you should jump on this 9 a.m. Zoom meeting, which is occurring in Ireland at whatever time it is in the afternoon in Ireland. I was like, damn, that'd be fun. I hadn't done it yet, but that would be cool, you know. Welcome to the 3rd edition. Welcome to the morning meeting. Welcome to the afternoon meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. We welcome me on here. I wouldn't hear a damn thing. I would just be like, hell yeah, that accent is cool as shit. And then an Irish person would hear that accent. They would say, what am I, a fucking leprechaun? And I would go, no, but that's the version of your accent that is easiest for me to do, which I understand is a caricature of the real accent, you know. So I try to do like Conor McGregor's Irish, and it's hard to do, you know. Watch Peaky Blinders enough, you could pick up a little bit of it. Listen to Conor McGregor interviews, pick up some of it. But I do the Lucky Charms. I do the Lucky Charms Irish, which they would not appreciate. But the point of that is that 9 a.m. here, there's a meeting going on in Ireland or Japan or wherever, you know. It's pretty wild what we can do with technology. But they're saying even at this time, taking advantage of technological advances, for example, AA members with computers, it's like that's everybody pretty much nowadays. Literally, almost. I think at least in the United States, like, you know, probably 80% have some kind of Wi-Fi connection and could jump on a meeting. Sharing with fellow alcoholics across the country or around the world in any meeting, anywhere. AAs share experience, strength, and hope with each other in order to stay sober and help other alcoholics. Modem to modem or face to face, AAs speak the language of the heart in all its power and simplicity. So that's the foreword to the 4th edition. Remember, the foreword to the 2nd edition was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. 3rd edition is 1 page. 4th edition foreword is 1, and a half, basically, pages. So, I mean, and I've read these before, okay? More than once, you know, I've read the forewords. But I think it would be common to start at the doctor's opinion. You know, if you get a sponsor, they're going to go, I want you to read the first 164 pages of the big book, which is basically, that's the first 164 is the program of action. All right. First 164 pages. Right. And then even it'll be reversed, but then you see after 164, it's personal stories. Okay. So this part of the book is the program of action. And then this part of the book is basically a speaker meeting in a book. Okay. So if you go to a meeting, there's a speaker who's going to tell you their story. And they're probably going to follow some type of format, like what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And that's what the personal stories are. Okay, it's stories that how 42 alcoholics recovered from their malady, beginning with the story of Dr. Bob, a co-founder of AA. There are here presented 3 groups of personal stories. So then that's how that's formatted. The personal stories, starting with Dr. Bob's nightmare, okay, which is Dr. Bob's story. So that's how the book is structured, all right? But in the first 164, if we didn't read the forewords, we would have missed, I mean, in my opinion, a lot of cool factoids, you know, that sort of give you an idea of what AA, how it started, you know, how it grew, why it grew, where we are now, you know, so you get an idea. I mean, when I was 22, coming into AA out of treatment, living with my grandparents in South Florida, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I went to college briefly in Washington, D.C., and then moved to Florida and did a couple months like free range in Florida before I was at my bottom, you know, and decided to go to treatment. And so I'm coming out of treatment into AA. Now it's like, you know, 96 days or something like that in a treatment program. And now I'm living with my grandparents, who I don't know very well. They were my dad's mom and stepdad, who I didn't know. You know, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I had met them maybe 5 times, literally, from birth to then, okay? And so I'm living with my grandparents. They allowed me to stay with them, and I'm going to meetings. And so, to me, I liked meetings. I rode a bike to the meetings, 6 miles into Hollywood, Florida, from Dania Beach, Florida, into Hollywood. And I enjoyed meetings, but it was months and months, a year, or maybe more than a year before someone really got me into the book. You know, I was going to meetings, I was hearing speakers, I was hearing great things about what the steps did for people and how they helped change people's lives. And I'm going to meetings and you know, I got a sponsor, and my first sponsor, and I kind of started Scotty E. And I started, you know, we did like 1 through 5, you know, and I kind of I did a good job on my 4th step, which whatever, right? We'll talk about that. But, you know, so I did kind of the work, right? But I was kind of you know, I had a job. I was living life, you know, feeling good, saving some money, going to meetings, you know, that was my life. And did some step work. It wasn't until I got my second sponsor that I had almost a year. I think I had 11 months at the time, or 10 months or something, because about 10 months, I think, because he was like, have you fully worked the steps at all? And I said, no, I started them, but I haven't really done them all the way. And he goes, man, it's a miracle you stayed sober without working steps. And I was like, really? You know, I mean, And he said, well, let's do it, man. Let's go. And I think it was about 2.5 months. Like by the time I had my year, I had completed the 12 steps. So it was 9 or 10 months when I met that sponsor. And that's when I really was like, oh, okay, you know, so when people are in a meeting talking about steps and step work, now I was like, I've done that. I did that. I know what it's like to sit for hours and read a thing I wrote to my sponsor to fifth step it out, you know? So even as that progresses, right? It was even longer than that before someone was like, have you read the Forewords? And I'm like, no. You know, I started at the doctor's opinion. And so we went through the Forewords, and it's like, wow, it's really interesting to find out how it started. And so if you're, for somebody that's like just coming in now, or somebody that's been in for a little while, and let's focus on the person who's just coming into AA now. And you have maybe other people's experiences in your family or friends or people that have told you about it, or things that you've seen on a podcast, or things that you've seen in movies or whatever the case may be. It's like, here it is, you know, where it started, 1935, how it started in 1935, and how it's progressed to present day. And I think for me, I feel kind of a sense of pride, you know. Here's a very well-documented account of how it started, how it progressed, and why it progressed. You know, I think authenticity, and just how it's so specific, but also broad, right? It's like, we're going to specifically do these things, and you need to develop a reliance on a higher power, but whatever that is to you, okay? It's a paradox. It's like paradoxical. It's that it's so specific and so broad at the same time. You know, it's so exclusive and so inclusive at the same time. It's interesting to me. So those are the forewords, and then the next thing would be the doctor's opinion, which is pretty long. So I don't know. We'll see. As much as I talked for the first foreword to the first and second, I don't know. I might talk a lot through the doctor's opinion. You can see, right? Like, lots of notes with the doctor's opinion. So maybe that'll be like 2 parts, but I think, so that's when to me, it really gets fun, if we could say that, you know. Gets really fun, the doctor's opinion. And the doctor is who? Remember, our great medical benefactor, Dr. William D. Silkworth, regarded as a medical saint among AA members, who worked with Bill at Towns Hospital in New York. Dr. Silkworth. That's who the doctor is. Dr. Silkworth is the doctor's opinion, and the doctor's opinion tells you, in AA's perspective, what alcoholism is, okay? Which is, to me, when I read this, it made perfect sense to me. And when I look back at my life and how I reacted to alcohol from the first time I drank, and how I had reacted to alcohol throughout all the, whatever that was, 7, 8 years or whatever, till I'm 22 years old, it made perfect sense. So I'll either get into that later to this evening or tomorrow. All right, cool. Doctor's opinion. Fun. Silky. All right.